What's up, Earth Rockers? It's your boy Shovitar, and I'm back again. Back again to talk about more Legacy of Darkness. This footage, this was rough. Because this is hard mode. And Legacy of Darkness on hard mode really does not fuck around. If you guys didn't watch my Castlevania 64 hard mode footage, hard mode for Castlevania 64, I mean, the thing about Castlevania 64 is that Castlevania 64 was basically an unfinished game from the start. So it wouldn't really be realistic to expect them to do a lot of big, like, overhauls to the game's hard mode and, like, add in a bunch of new stuff. So mostly what you get in Castlevania 64 hard mode is enemies have buffed health across the board, and there's like a few more enemies here and there. It's kind of like Super Castlevania 4's hard mode, but actually less involved. Legacy of Darkness really decided that they were going to make a hard mode that was like a hard mode. The biggest difference between Legacy of Darkness on hard and Legacy of Darkness on normal is the amount of damage dealt not by common enemies, but by the bosses. There are... Excuse me. Sorry. 1 second. Just had breakfast. Sorry. The damage dealt by the bosses in Legacy of Darkness is substantially increased. And there are a few other changes that are very, very important, which I'm going to get into. They're mostly centered around the late game. Can I just say again how fucking badass this opening cutscene is? Like, I don't want to say, like, the game peaks with this cutscene, because that would be kind of... Because I haven't even started playing the game yet, but this is honestly one of the best parts of the whole game. Like, this is so, It's like a fully committing to the vision that they're going for, being undertaken with the tools available to them, you know what I mean? Maybe you do. So is Death just like... I guess Death doesn't die for 100 years. Does Death just like hang around and like wait for the stars to align or something? Who knows? This part's pretty funny too, just because like the skeletons are doing goofy shit in the background in some of the shots. The cinematic quality of the game being fully realized with this little intro. Look at him whacking at the roof. Every time I watch this part, I notice like a new silly thing that the skeletons are doing. I fucking love skeletons. Like, that guy just stands there. Oh, now he runs over. But there's another one in the background who's just standing there watching. Yeah, you'll see him, I think, in a shot. There. Where is he? There he is. You can see him at the corner of that house. He's just like watching everything happen. I was like, fuck that. I'm not getting involved. He's still there. Maybe he's thinking, maybe he figures that if he just doesn't move, that Cornell, like, won't notice him. That's a smart-ass skeleton right there. It's nice to see enemies with some self-preservation instincts. Oh, do I have to shut up? I think I have to be quiet. There's always such a lead-up to this part. Just start.
Cornell,
there he is.
also known as Blue Crescent Moon. Through magic of the ancients, this man-beast warrior obtained a physical body of near immortality and a power that surpasses that of a wild beast. The man-beasts, choosing to live harmoniously with humans, sealed away their enormous magical powers to prevent them from being used. However, through severe ascetic training, Cornell acquired the art for releasing the sealed man-wolf power. After a year of traveling and ascetic training, Cornell rushed back to his village, only to find that evil spirits had set the village on fire, engulfing the village in a lotus flower of flames. His only living blood relative, his sister Ada, was carried away by the evil spirits. Now, he must save her. Cornell uses the man-wolf's acute sense of smell to track the scent of his sister's blood. Reinhard Schneider. Carrie Fernandez. We go back 8 years in time, before the period in which these two young warriors risked their lives battling against the devil. Now, the truth that has been shrouded in the gloom of darkness will be revealed.
All that stuff they mentioned in the intro about, like, the man-beast's village and the magic of the ancients, there's like a whole other game in there somewhere, you know what I mean? Like, that's probably the most ambitious piece of world building I've seen in any of these games. Which, to be fair, it's not like the other games... Well, I guess Aria of Sorrow is doing something like that, but... But, like, the... Konami Computer Entertainment Kobe just went and invented, like, a whole new element of the universe. Of the Castlevania universe to just, like, make their playable werewolf character work. Which is pretty funny. Because, I mean, there have been werewolves in prior Castlevania games, but they've never really been explained. And here I think I paused just to, yeah, I do make a save state here just so that way I don't have to sit through the opening cutscenes again every time the first boss kicks my ass. Which is going to happen. Like I said, the bosses in Legacy of Darkness are a big problem, and the first boss in particular is... Actually, no. The first boss... No, Cornell shreds the first boss. What am I worried about dying to? I'm worried about dying to something in the early game, but I can't remember what it is yet. Maybe I'm worried about time? I know the boss in the castle wall does a lot of damage. There's some reason I did that. Because if I thought I was just going to breeze through the first half of this game, I wouldn't have done that. So there's something I'm worried about, but I don't remember what it is yet. And I'm sure I'll find out. Speaking of the playable werewolf character, I want to talk a little bit about this alternate costume that Cornell has on. This is a reference to, a visual reference to Cornell's original conceived implementation in Castlevania 64. Because in Castlevania 64, he was supposed to be one of 4 playable characters. 2 of them got cut. And he was one of the 2 that got cut. And he was supposed to be imprisoned somewhere in Dracula's castle. And I guess you were going to free him, and maybe that was going to make him playable. Which is why he's got a shackle around his ankle. So, that's what's going on there. It's a little bit... His main outfit's a little bit, like, goofy and a little bit over-designed. But it does make a little bit more sense. It doesn't really make sense for him to be walking around with an ankle bracelet on if he's just coming back from a walk near his village. Unless he's, like, on some kind of, you know, controlled release thing for werewolf crimes. unauthorized dog activity. Fortunately, Legacy of Darkness hard mode, as frustrating as it is on occasion, it does not fall into the pitfall that Castlevania 64 hard mode did, which was buffing enemy health. I'll talk about this a little bit. I really don't like it when hard modes do that, because I think having like turning enemies into damage sponges is just not fun. Like it can be, yes, it can be more difficult, but it's just not as interesting to fight the same enemy for, like, you know, minutes and minutes. That's why Oblivion is not my favorite Elder Scrolls game, but now I'm already getting off topic. Look out! He didn't get out of the way. I yelled and everything. I think I called... Well, you'll see more of it later. This part of the level is... Well, actually a little bit weird. When I did this, when I was collecting Reinhardt footage... When I'd, like, ledge grab to get up onto that crate in the water, I would, like, fall off the ledge because I'd, like, dip back down onto the floor. I guess you'll see it when I finally upload Reinhardt footage. That's just what that reminded me of there. Camera gets stuck in the ceiling. Oh well, one of the very few times when the camera significantly misbehaves in Legacy of Darkness. This little intro is interesting. Because they do establish exhaustively in Castlevania 64 that the castle of Dracula in this game, in this world, is on an island in the middle of a lake. So it makes sense, I guess, to show you how you would get there. In Castlevania 64, you just kind of start off in the forest and you're already there, so this makes sense. Fun fun fact about this boss fight coming up here. So I think I am just going to shred this guy. He can be very scary if you don't basically kill him before he gets off like his first few attacks. And I think... okay, he's going to get one attack off. Yeah, this attack is really hard to dodge, and I'm going to talk more about this when I upload like my carry footage, because that's when it really becomes a problem. Oh no, never mind. Okay, good. I killed him before he did it. Alright, perfect. Yeah, that's kind of the power of dog form. Right there. And that was with him, even during nighttime, he still just like died really fast. So, good, good, good. That's exactly what I wanted. These guys, that is not exactly what I wanted. Usually those guys are far forward enough that if I just keep jumping and attacking through that stretch of bridge, then I'll kill all of them. But they just kind of fucked around instead of doing what I would expect them to do. And there's like a timing thing here where I'm about to come up on the first stage of the boss fight of this level, where like you fight this guy at the start of the level and then at the end. And I'd like to fight him during the daytime, but I kind of don't want to sit around and wait for another like half an hour before the fight starts. Something that I don't actually know for sure is I don't know when the game decides to apply the day-night health buff. Like, for example, if I start the fight during the nighttime, but if it turns to day during the fight, is he gonna lose is he gonna, like, lose health? Is it gonna, like, recalculate how much, like, damage I'm doing to him after that point? Or is it not gonna matter? Or like, does it decide whether or not the health penalty is applied when the boss spawns, or does it apply it as soon as daytime happens? I don't know. And I never really found a good way to experiment to find out. And I don't know. I'm sure it matters for speedruns. You know what? I bet speedrunners know. Because some of the bosses in Castlevania 64 and Legacy of Darkness can take a long fucking time to kill. I bet speedrunners really try to make sure they fight those guys during the day, and I bet they know how that system works. So I could look that up, but it was never super important for my route through the game to know that. Especially in Cornell mode, because in Cornell mode, there's no time limit that can give you a bad ending, which means you're completely free to abuse sun cards. So if you want it to be daytime during a boss fight, you can just use a sun card and make it daytime. And cover it no matter what. So... And the thing is that I try, like, speedrunners have a lot of useful information, but I try not to, like, you know, I try to learn games autonomously. I try to learn them, like, by myself. Cornell has kind of a goofy jumping animation. I guess a lot of jumping animations are kind of goofy if you really think about it. Another thing about hard mode that's really important to note in Legacy of Darkness has to do with the availability of sub-weapons. Now, this isn't a huge deal for Cornell, but it's going to be a massive, massive problem when I talk about carry, so for now I'll just kind of cover it. So one of the many things Legacy of Darkness did to make its hard mode distinct was it nerfed item drops. It nerfed, like, healing item drops. There are now many fewer healing items you can find in the open world, and lots of healing items that were roast beefs, which heal 80% health, have been converted into roast chickens, which only heal 50% health, which is fine by me for reasons I've talked before about the way that, like, healing items work in Castlevania 64, where it's kind of hard to get full value out of a roast beef because you don't usually want to be sitting around at, like, 20% health or less. But anyway... Although that doesn't apply to healing items you find in the world, because you get them for free, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, point is, there's way fewer healing items. You have to worry about that more, and also the sub-weapon availability has been made much worse. It's way harder to find a cross in this game. Like, so many torches that dropped crosses now just drop knives, or that dropped axes now just drop knives, or that, like, they only seem to want to give you knives and holy water. which is frustrating, because those are not very good sub-weapons, especially the Holy Water. Again, not a big deal for Cornell, because Cornell's attacks have very long range, and he never really encounters any combat problems that he can't deal with, especially when he has access to dog form. But that's going to become a problem later when I play on other characters. And that is the one thing about Cornell's mode that I think kind of salvages it, because I think that something I said in my normal mode video is that I think Cornell's campaign is too long. I think making you go through all 4 of the late game tower levels is excessive. So compensating that by making him basically just the most powerful character in the game is fair. But the thing is that he's the most powerful character in the game in terms of, like... Well, I was going to say he's only the most powerful in terms of combat, but he actually does have better mobility than most of the other characters. It just doesn't quite compensate for the added frustration of having to go, like, Science, Dual Tower, Execution Tower, and fucking Sorcery Tower. And I'm going to have some things to say about the Sorcery Tower on hard mode, but I'm going to have to save those. Oh, I totally forgot to mention this. This is super important. So that giant skeleton boss that I fought, I mentioned at the beginning that one of the big changes Legacy of Darkness made is that bosses do more damage. If that giant skeleton hits you with his club, it one-shots you. If it hits you with, like, the electricity charge or, like, the poison breath or, like, whatever, then it just does, like, more damage than usual. But if he swings that club at it and it hits you, it fucking one-shots you. Or if it doesn't one-shot you, it does like 98% of your health and damage. It leaves you at like 1 HP, I think. It's either one of those two things. Because I do think I've gotten hit by it before and not died, but if you go in there with like any damage taken, it will basically kill you. It will function as a one-shot most of the time, which, like, to be fair, that boss is usually pretty uneventful, so that's one way to make a boss exciting, right? Just make it so that if the boss hits you, you fucking die. It's kind of like the nuclear option for boss fight difficulty. I actually don't quite know what all is going on with Cornell's outfit here. I don't really know what's happening around his shoulders and back area. I also want to point out a quirk in the opening text crawl all the way back there talking about Cornell. It said, what did it say? It said, a physical body of near immortality. I think that probably means a physical body of, like, near indestructibility. I think it's just trying to say he's really strong and he can get smacked in the face with fire and he won't die. Because immortality carries a different connotation than, like, indestructibility. You know what I mean? Saying that he has a body of immortality makes it sound like he could be like 1,000 years old or something, which I don't think is what that's trying to imply. That's just a thing that I noticed. You know what's nice about this too is that this is actually showing a concrete example of, like, a character coming to, because the thing that Dracula always says in all those games and that I never got is he's like, oh, Richter, what does he say? It is not by my hand that I am once again given flesh. I was brought here by humans. He makes this point like, I'm here to help humans attain power. But all he ever seems to do is show up and then make mummies appear everywhere and then, like, kill people. So I was never clear on, like, how Dracula is supposed to, like, help people. Unless you're like a psychopath like Shaft and you just want to, like, see everybody fucking die. But here, it's like they're giving a concrete example of here's a guy, Ortega, who has his reasons for seeking out more power by whatever means necessary. It's kind of like an anime type thing, but it's something. It's more than you usually get in these games. And so if Castlevania 64, if the N64 games were going to take advantage of, like, the three-dimensional medium to have more of, like, a cinematic feel and have more, like, story elements, then that's a good thing to add, is show, like, a concrete example of somebody paying tribute to Dracula for a particular reason that makes sense. The reason I'm not picking up any of those gems, by the way, is because there's a very specific thing that I want to do here, where I do want to use dog form on the boss coming up at the top of this level, but I want dog form to run out right when the thing dies. Because I also want to use dog form at the start of the villa that's right after this. And so if I go in with too many gems, I'll like waste them. But if I go in with not enough, I won't be able to use dog form at all. So I want to like, the second that second Bone Serpent dies, I want to be at 0 gems, which is a very like specific thing to be going for, but it's why I'm ignoring all those jewels back there. And this is actually, I think, too early of a transformation. I should pick up that gem, because I'm going to run out before I get anything done, I think. Unless I'm fucking owning. Okay, never mind. See, my past self knows more about these games than I do. That was actually perfect. Run out, run out, run out. Come on. Yeah, and I want to... Because I want it to run out like right when it dies, so that way I have time to pick up some of the items that it drops. Because if you pick up gems while you're in dog form, it'll just perpetuate dog form. So that was actually fucking perfect. So good for me for that one. Yeah, I think now that I'm watching it, I think I spent a lot of time fine-tuning that and trying to get a handle on like exactly how many gems I needed. And now I can pick up whatever gems that I want, because now I need to build up another stockpile for the start of the villa. Nice. Safe. Because at the start of the villa, you fight Cerberus enemies. Cornell's pretty good at fighting them. He's better at fighting them than the other characters are. He doesn't really need any particular... The thing about... Although he kind of runs into the same problem. The Cerberuses are fine to fight if there's just one of them. Like, there's just one of them, you can just, like, bully them. The problem is when there's 2. And it's a situation which you'd think might be mitigated by sub-weapons, like, could you sub-weapon one of them and then, like, melee the other one? The problem is that, number one, Castlevania 64 doesn't really allow for, like, target switching that quickly and that smoothly. Number two, sub-weapons have a wind-up, so you're not really able to instantly respond to the Cerberus no matter what. So that's why I usually like to go in there with the cross, because the cross will just hit both of them. But the problem with that is that the cross is not available on hard mode until the villa, until the cross that drops off of the last Cerberus. So again, that's not really a huge problem for Cornell, it's a big problem for Carrie. Now you might be thinking, what about the holy water, right? Because the holy water can hit multiple enemies, but the holy water... I don't know, man. The holy water's just not good. Like, maybe there's some trick to it that I couldn't figure out, but the way using the holy water tends to play out on the Cerberus is you have a huge wind-up to throw the holy water. They take, like, a tiny bit of damage, and then they back up, and they both instantly zoom around to your sides and, like, double flank you at the same time, and you don't have time to wind up a second holy water by the time they get to you. Or if you do, you're going to be, like, throwing it directly to your left or directly to your right, and the other one is just going to, like, hit you. So, I don't know. Maybe if you're, like, a god at this game with, like, a fucking black belt and holy water jitsu, you can fight them with just that, but I never got that good at the game. This is very much a game where it was like, whatever solution works is just the one that I'm going to go with. Shit, I can't believe that was as close as it was. I'm very surprised by that. Because I'm 100% sure Cornell has a farther, like, jump speed than Reinhardt does. And I feel like that jump was, like, smooth on Reinhardt. Whatever. Anyway. So now that that boss fight is done, I'm not... What the fuck? Oh, right, these are the ones that glitched out. Yeah, so those 2 green platforms with the spikes are supposed to flip out to, like, turn the spikes up and then, like, turn them back down again at set intervals, but there they did something that I'd seen them do before, which was just, like, stop working. Where they just, like, stay stuck with the spikes facing downward, and I have no idea what causes that. There was this weird variability in the castle wall levels where like sometimes more platforms would appear, sometimes platforms like wouldn't do what they were supposed to do, like they'd be like that example right there. It was the strangest thing, and I have no idea what the cause was. But in that case, it was very nice because it meant that I could just go right past it. And also, I want to get through this part as fast as I can because I have a timing that I'm going for in the villa that's even tighter than the one in Castlevania 64. I talked about this in my normal mode video. Or no, I remembered it in my normal mode video at the last moment. Basically, I want to get to the second room of the villa right at like 6 a.m. Within the hour, between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. So I got a boogie. Actually, I have plenty of time, but what am I doing? Huh? This is very strange. What is this about? Interesting. Okay, so I know I can see why I would use a sun card there because I want to fight the Cerberuses. But why would I? Oh, because you don't go there at the start of the villa, right? The villa is reconfigured in Cornell's story. Okay, right. I get it now. Because you go to the hedge maze first, then you backtrack into the villa, then I go into the room where it needs to be sunrise, and in the maze I'll be able to get a second sun card, so that's not going to be a problem. Would love to know what I was shooting at with that second air blade, by the way. I just kind of looked in the least helpful direction possible and like shot at nothing, and I really don't know why that happened. And the fact that Cornell is so agile and is so like strong in combat is pretty fun. And like I think I said in my last video, dog form really creates an interesting strategic element to it that I appreciate, which is doubly the case in hard mode. Look at that shit. Jesus Christ. Well, you know what they say, it's a dog-eat-dog world. And I think, since I still have dog form active, I'm also going to trigger the vampire fight. You don't have... The way that the villa is laid out for Cornell's story, you don't have to trigger the vampire fight when you first come in, but because I still have some hearts for dog form, and because it's still daytime, I'm just going to use the last of my gems to kill this guy in dog form. I think I might one-shot him, actually. Or I think I'll go into dog... Yeah, that's what I should do. No, two-shot, okay. Perfect. Then I wait until I run out, and I start rebuilding my hearts. And I'm not going to go into dog form again for a while, I think. There was a thing that I This is actually like I'm surprised that this route is as complicated as it is. I guess I really wanted to min-max dog form usage. I think it's because once I started realizing like the strategic potential of it, it's like every part of the game I was just looking at through like dog eyes, or it's like, can I use wolf form here? How can I incorporate it? How long do I need it for? When should I let it run out? That kind of thing. And it made the game a lot more interesting. It's a little bit like well, it's resource management, which in Castlevania 64 as I said in my carry hard mode video, the fact that you have to stop to pick up gems kind of like puts a damper on the whole element of resource management, because it kind of actively de-incentivizes you from like getting more of the resource because it just is tedious. But with Cornell, especially on hard mode, I think dog form is powerful enough in a way that the sub-weapons aren't, to make the hassle of kneeling down to pick up every single crystal you find more worth it. Sub-weapons are also stronger in Legacy of Darkness, of course, because they can be upgraded into like Mark III sub-weapons or whatever. Another really important thing about hard mode in Legacy of Darkness that I want to mention is that enemies do not have their health buffed. But the thing is that not only are good sub-weapons rarer, but weapon upgrades are. What I mean is like the things you pick up to upgrade your like main attack. Like for Richter, it's the thing that turns his whip from a normal whip to a better whip to a best whip. You know what I mean? Those have really been like cut down to like there are so few of them in Legacy of Darkness, and it honestly makes the game less fun. And it functions basically as a buff to enemy health, because if you die, you're now gonna have to. It's now gonna take way longer to get a fully upgraded weapon, because you have to stay alive for so much longer to get 2 upgrades. So that's actually something that I really don't like, and it's a big reason why. And I hate to say this, but I'm just going to say it. Look at this shit, by the way. Oh yeah, another big important difference in hard mode. Turrets fire faster, which in situations like this, you can see why that's a problem. Because I'm desperately trying to hit the turrets, but the game thinks I should only be hitting the fireballs because the fireballs are closer to me. This is kind of like the game like trolling me with its own mechanics. Usually those guys drop more items than that, but oh well. Yeah, what I was gonna say, the game is honestly more fun to play with save states, and I hate to say that, but the fact that dying punishes you not just with like a reduction, with not just by like sending you back, which is normal, but by like nerfing your main attack, just like feels so awful. So I think if you were if and it wouldn't be. So if you really wanted to, you could just like make save states at the start of each level to like, and then reload from there if you die to replicate the time penalty, but not like the debuff penalty, which is of course, you know, not how the game was meant to be played. I understand all that, but another thing that's really important about Cornell is that whether he shoots his air blades from his left or his right hand can be extremely important. Like right there, if he had just, and I don't know what makes him do one or the other, because I swear to God there will be times where when I'm in exactly the same position, and he'll shoot them out of different hands. Like right there, the only reason I was able to kill that thing risk-free is because he decided he was going to start shooting them out of his right hand. If he was shooting them out of his left hand, I would have just hit the wall over and over again and not gotten anything done. So maybe it has something to do with like the camera angle. Maybe that affects it. I just don't know. It's that time of night again. And also, it just never. I was never like. It was never imperative to learn that, because if he did start hitting, like swinging from the left instead of the right, I was out of that thing's LOS, so I could have just stood there and waited until I got the angle that I wanted. This is the part of the game that I want it to be sunrise for, and look at how close I am to perfectly optimal on this. I'm only an hour off. Or no. Oh, is it between 5 and 6? Oh, 5 a.m. is part of the cutoff? No, okay. No, I think I have to wait until... Oh no, I misread the clock. No, I was totally off. Never mind. I was so excited. I thought I'd somehow managed to get here on the perfect timing, but no, I was actually 12 hours out of sync. So, but fortunately, you can just use a sun card to get it to the time that you want, and the game gives you a sun card at the start of the villa. So, all good, all good. I really hope they're playing fucking outdoor music at this restaurant across the street from me. I really hope the mic's not picking that up. Like, it's one thing to pick up the occasional like vroom, vroom, but to hear like the fucking background of my commentary, I think would be a little annoying. So I really hope that's not getting picked up. I don't think it is. Maybe it is, and it'll provide some welcome ambience to the domestic situation. This is actually this scene actually kind of makes me wish that there was more voice acting in this game. Usually I don't really like voice acting in games. I think it kind of like fucks with the pacing and it can be really hit or miss. But I think this scene being voice acted would have been amazing because I would have gotten to hear a voice actor say, "Your warm blood with which to wet my whistle," which I think would have been. I think it's a tragedy that we were denied from hearing a voice actor say that line. Gilles de Reyes, or however the fuck that's supposed to be pronounced in whatever backwards ass Euro language that is apparently named after a real dude. I saw this piece of trivia on Game FAQ, so it could be totally wrong. Apparently there was some guy in real life called Gilles de Reyes who was like a serial killer in like the 1400s or something, allegedly. I guess when you go that far back, you never really know if anything is true. Well, that's not accurate, but you know what I mean. There's a funny thing with that Gilles de Reyes character. How the fuck would you pronounce... What, like, language is that? It looks like it's supposed to be French, and I know French have weird fucked up pronunciations for everything. I don't know why they can't just speak English. It's like they're French or something. There's a weird thing with Gilles de Reyes, which I don't know if it would make sense to talk about now. This is an interesting decision that I made to try to maintain. So here I'm maintaining dog form. Okay, I'm not maintaining dog form. Interesting. So the reason I'm going out of my way here is because I wanted to trigger the run-on cutscene to cancel dog form, because those are the two ways to get out of dog form, or to run out of gems, or to trigger a cutscene. So there, I'm trying to remember what my route through the villa was in Cornell's story. Because the thing is that you don't have to go to the archives in Legacy of Darkness. There's a room up at the far end of that hallway back there across the stained glass window night dudes that you have to go into in C64 to get a key. The only thing that's in there in Legacy of Darkness is a clue for a puzzle, but I already know what the solution to the puzzle is, so I guess I just decided to skip it. I like this little music track that plays when you talk to Renan. They incorporated this actually into the Cornell music. Castlevania Judgment, Cornell's a playable character in that game, and they incorporated this bit into his theme, which I think is nice. Judgment looks like a completely ridiculous game, but I've listened to some of its music and it's pretty good. Fucking G-Man. Somebody called him the G-Man once, and now I can't get that association out of my head. So what am I buying? I guess I'm probably gonna buy some anti-poison, some cure ampules, and then how do you pronounce that? Is it ampule? It can't be ampule, even though that's how it's spelled. I bought the roast beef. Interesting. I guess I probably did that because there are almost no roast beefs in the open world, and I might be able to use one at one point, so I guess I might as well just have it just in case I can use it. That's probably which makes sense, I think. I don't think I've had to use any healing items yet. I think I've only... That's pretty good. Now it's time for the very slow Frankenstein chase of Castlevania Legacy of Darkness. He just froze in the doorway. That's funny as fuck. This kid the kid's going the wrong way. Frankenstein froze in the doorway like mid-animation, and Henry went down the wrong path. He's supposed to go across the stone bridge, but he like turned to the fucking right when he wasn't supposed to. Unless he comes out that way? He does come out that way. Okay, so that did make sense. Never mind. Kid used a fucking stopwatch or something. Run away. That's what you have to do. Well, she talked to me. I was a dog at the time. Did I already make that joke? I think I made some, like, dumb dog jokes in that scene. Damn, Cornell's doing all this barefoot. There really is a body of near indestructibility or immortality or something. Demons. It's interesting. It's always so interesting seeing what words they choose to translate, like... Because demons, I don't know if you'd call, like... It's like in Castlevania 64, or no, in the opening title crawl, the opening text crawl of this game, where they call skeletons, like, evil spirits. Here they're calling Frankenstein a demon, which is not really the association. I mean, he's a speed demon in Castlevania 64, but that's not the same thing. I think monster would be a better translation of that word for this context. This was a strange decision. I honestly, I mean, I think they were very excited about the whole The Shining hedge maze chase thing, obviously. Like, goddamn, 4 crosses to kill that guy. That's 20 fucking hearts. That's crazy. I mean, I guess the cross is supposed to, like, go out and come back, but there I think it just kind of hits the wall and then doesn't know what to do. So you only get 1 hit per usage. Maybe the axe would be better there. I don't know. Maybe like a... But the axe is also super scarce in Legacy of Darkness. That's what's kind of fucked up, is that it's not just that the cross isn't around, it's that the axe, which is like the thing you would go to use if you didn't have the cross, is also gone. Which is kind of, like, fucked up. God damn, he's already back up again. Look at that shit. Oh my god. Okay, never mind. He's a speed demon in this game, too. Why didn't I... Huh. I got the Rose Garden... Oh no, the Thorn Key is what lets you in here, not the Rose Garden Key. Okay. Okay. I was confused. I think I'm probably going to go dog form for the boss fight here, just because this is one of several boss fights that let you... that end with a cutscene, so you're not going to lose any gems if you just go dog form and then kill him in 2 seconds. So I think that's what I'm going to do. They were like, yeah, I was saying, I don't really like, I don't know, I don't like this part of the game. I didn't like it in Castlevania 64 either. I don't like it here. I don't really like, oh my god, what was I thinking? I really, that was very, very questionable to take that turn around the corner without killing him, because I should have known he was going to get there in time. I guess this is the benefit of hindsight, right? Like, watching the footage. The observer sees more than the player. Isn't that like a Chinese proverb or something? Okay, there's no enemy there. Sometimes there's a Cerberus around this last corner. I know there was in my normal mode footage. I wonder if it's going to be there this time. I gotta stop again, yeah. Want to point out, by the way, Henry took that chainsaw like a fucking champ. This kid's like still up and walking around after that. I'm impressed. And that's honestly what I was really scared of in hard mode. I was certain that on hard mode, Frankenstein would one-shot this kid. But I guess he's made of tougher stuff than that. Oh my god. Okay. The reason I don't like that part is because it's just so easy... It's very easy to get ahead of Henry. Which is... I mean... logical, of course, because Cornell's legs are about as long as Henry's entire body, so of course a grown adult immortal wolfman is going to outpace a child pretty fast, but it makes for a slow and kind of clunky sequence. In Castlevania 64, the sequence is just like insanely punishing, which is also bad. So I would have to say this is better because you're less likely to just die for no reason, which is what happens in the Castlevania 64 hedge maze a lot until you like memorize the route. So I don't know. I do like the villa. Which villa do I like better, the Cornell one or the C64 one? Cornell one actually lets you walk around the hedge maze, which is nice. C64 one has the cutscene where the guy says, "You have entered the castle of hell," which I think is pretty funny. Oh, but this one has the guy who says, "With which to wet my whistle," which is also pretty good. I don't know. It's a close contest. They're both very good levels in any case. Yeah, that's just this fucking guy. Look at this guy. His aim is perfect. I'm impressed. Get out of the sidecar. It's too late. I don't know why I kept that. That was something I did over and over again when I got to this part. Is I kept on having this delusion in my head that jumping would somehow throw off his aim, but it never does. Sliding sometimes seems to fuck him up, but jumping, he's just gonna fucking shoot you, especially if you're still like right the fuck in front of him. But it's just an impulse that I have from playing these games, because jumping usually does. Jumping is how you move forward the fastest, and that usually is what works the best to misdirect enemies' aim. So is this like a mansion? I was never really clear on this. So this must be inside the walls of Dracula's castle. But like, what is this mansion doing? I guess I don't. You know what? I don't really know much about the structure of a European castle. I guess there's more inside the walls than just the castle. But would there really be like a mansion in the walls of the castle? And also the castle itself like appears. So was the mansion on the island already, and then the castle rose up around it? Because the way that these like they're like characters in the villa that seem like their existence predates the return of Dracula's castle, so it's not like they appeared when the castle did. That'd be pretty fucking bad luck. Like, you set up a mansion on like an island, right? Seems like a great place, lots of mountains, lots of fishing in the lake, and then Dracula's fucking castle just like formulates itself all around your shit. Or maybe there's something I'm just not getting. Because Dracula's castle isn't like a thing that's always there and then it comes. Although, wait, Death and Actrice were already in the castle, performing the rite to resurrect Dracula. Maybe I should email somebody. Tweet at some fucking random ass KKEK employee. How is Death in the castle to resurrect Dracula before Dracula comes back? Although I think that same thing happens in Rondo. So yeah, I zoom in on her face there because that's that chick is the second vampire boss in the Carrie Reinhardt version of the Villa level. So rip in peace. Here, I think I actually get the storeroom key, because the storeroom was a room that I totally ignored in Castlevania 64, because it just didn't have anything in it that I really wanted. But in Legacy of Darkness, there's a meat in there, and because healing items are so much more scarce, I kind of just want all of them that I can get. I don't think I'm going to end this with a huge surplus the way that I did in Castlevania 64 hard mode. I think I'm going to have to use these more. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. It is similar to Castlevania 64 in that combat is a little scary, but it doesn't really get, like, harrowing until you get to the last phase of Dracula. And I'm going to talk more about that when we get to it. I've already kind of talked about that a little bit when I talked about, in my normal mode run, about the second phase of Dracula in this game, but it's much more relevant in hard mode. Look at that dog. Look at that other dog. Yeah, fortunately for me, Frankenstein's all by himself in Legacy of Darkness. He doesn't have any dogs with him. Okay, let's see if I shoot her on the... Okay, I'm just throwing a cross at it. I guess I have a lot of hearts now. And the boss is going to die in 2 seconds and then go right into a cutscene, so it's not going to take that many dog form hearts to kill him. Fun fact about dog form, you can't switch into dog form unless you have at least 10 jewels. I feel like I was in the middle of saying something when I got distracted by the talking to Mr. Oldry's wife there. Fuck. Well, if I can't remember, it couldn't have been that important. Hang on a sec. There was a really loud engine rev back there. I gotta write down a timestamp. Oh yeah, he fucking... I literally looked away to grab a post-it note and write something, and he's already dead, so... That's how fast that fight's over with. And it's unfortunate, because you only ever fight that guy as Cornell, so you never really get to see what that boss fight would actually be like if you didn't just, like, fucking delete him in 2 seconds. Okay. I mean, that's gotta be pretty embarrassing, right? Even if you were just there to, like, figure out how strong Cornell is, like, getting your shit rocked that hard has gotta be a little bit demoralizing. Now, this is an interesting question. So, in C64, the hidden underground path takes you to tunnels or waterways. Here, it takes you up in the sky on a wall. So, the outer wall. Okay, this is what was confusing to me. I was calling this level the inner wall in my normal mode commentary because I thought that the first wall level called Castle Wall would be the outer wall, and then this one logically would have to be the inner wall since it's closer to the center of the castle. But apparently this is the outer wall. What's the... I guess the gate? There's a gate and then there's another wall? I guess there's a gate leading into where the villa is. And there's another wall that's the wall around the castle. See, if I knew anything about European architecture, maybe this would all, like, make sense to me. Like, medieval European architecture. I'm sure there's, like... I'm sure there's, like, history nerds who know all about this stuff. And I think the rotating saw blades were also a common feature in European castles. And that's where the fire turrets. I think that's how they repelled some Turkish invasions. in the 15th century. They set up like saw blades and fire turrets. And the Turks couldn't get through the platforming challenges fast enough. Pretty ingenious, to be honest. This part was always like weird for me because I would always like, I forgot that this little like area behind me existed, so I'd just kind of go forward and forget about this until I came across a locked door. That happened a couple times. Here I remembered. I usually do like one or two. It depends on the game. If it's like a really hard game, if it's something like, I don't know, like Chronicles or Bloodlines or something, I'll do a lot of practice runs and I'll do a lot of like save state, like individual level drilling. I didn't really do that with the N64 games. I didn't do any like individual level practices. I would just do like whole entire practice runs. Just like one big whole run at a time. And I think I did like 2 or 3 of those for Cornell. I did at least one per difficulty. I think I did 2 practice runs before I recorded normal, and then because hard was mostly the same, I think I only did 1 practice run. So but I guess I practiced it enough to remember the important parts. I kind of kept on going back and forth about how much I should practice this game, because a lot of what the difficulty boils down to is just like it's like just weird shit that's like hard to practice for, or what because this is a deathless run, but this is not like a real deathless run, because I do have a save state at the halfway point that I reloaded, and I'm going to talk more about that and more about why the second half of this run was so rough for me to record. And like the things that were killing me didn't feel like things that I could practice for the most part. It's possible this game is just too hard for me and it like filtered me, but I'm getting ahead of myself. This was actually a really good first half of the run. The fucking first boss in the lake was really smooth. The second boss in the castle, the gate level was really smooth. Henry did get cut in half by a chainsaw, which was not really what I wanted, but that's okay. I guess it makes sense for Cornell to be going along the outer wall, because the way that the sequence goes in Castlevania 64 is you go to the underground zone, whatever it is, then you go straight to the castle center. But here, Cornell is going to the towers. He never even goes to the castle center, so he just is like climbing between the towers to get to Dracula's Keep. So I guess having a higher elevated zone to lead into that sequence would make more sense. But they still were just left with the coffin and the hole in the ground at the end of the villa, so whatever. Maybe the hole led to an elevator, which took him to the outer wall. That's my explanation. Because we do know that Dracula has the technology for elevators, because he has an elevator in the castle center. So there you go. Maybe it was the same elevator. Who knows? I wonder how fast this chick is gonna die. I don't think I was ever quite able to no damage this fight. I think she would always get like some early attack in while I was like setting up my dog form or whatever. Sounds like a weird thing to say, set up, and you just have to push one button, but the thing is you have to push the L button, which is not natural for the control scheme of this game. Normally you would never press the L button, because it's just not where your hands would be. No damage? No damage. Beautiful. Yeah, see, I knew she did that shit with the projectile feathers right at the start of the fight, which is why I jumped out of the way as soon as I like hit the L button. I guess if I really loved the game, I do think this game is really good, but I didn't really love it enough to try to learn the bosses well enough to like no damage them. But there, it's easy to no damage that chick because she just dies so fast. Same with all the other ones. Is this a break? Yeah, this is the break. This is the halfway point. So now we move in to the 2 Cornell only stages. Art Tower, Tower of Ruins. These two levels are essentially the same on hard as they are on normal because there is no combat. There's no like significant combat in either of these levels, and they didn't change up the structure of the platforming at all. So I guess while we're here in these levels, I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the nature of this footage. Because I think I said earlier in this video that collecting the second half of this run was really, really rough, like collecting the footage for it. And it was, although not really because of the art tower, necessarily. It was mostly because of the later levels, especially the Tower of Sorcery. And it also just kind of had to do with, like, my mindset at this point in time. So I said in my normal mode video that I had recorded it while I was, like, sick. And I was recording these first, like, Legacy of Darkness runs during this period of time where it was, like, I was just sick on and off again. Where, like, I'd be, like, in the dumpster for 3 days, and then I'd be kind of okay, and then, like, for, like, 2 days, then I'd just be back in the fucking dumpster for 3 days. And so I was, like, sick, I was miserable, I was kind of getting sick of playing this game. I was getting sick of like, all the nonsense that was happening in the later levels. And I'll point out, like, where these things were happening when I get to the, them. But I just kind of want to explain, because this is all essentially just to kind of explain why there's going to be more save states in the second half of the game. With all my previous Castlevania 64 Legacy of Darkness runs, I've only used one save state at the midpoint of the game. Roughly the midpoint of the game. In Castlevania 64, it was before the Nitro run. In Legacy of Darkness, it was before the Art Tower / Tower of Ruins. Although, if I was really smart, I probably would have put the save state after the Tower of Ruins instead, because the Tower of Ruins and the Tower of Art are not really hard. Anyway, but here in this run, there's going to be a save state. There's one save state before the Art Tower. There's going to be another save state, I think after the Tower of Science. And there's going to be a fucking third save state before the final boss. And I'm going to explain all of that, like, as it happens, so there are gameplay reasons for it, but the like emotional, mental reasons are because I was just exhausted, and I was sick, and I was like, I just wanted it to be over. I just wanted to get the footage and be done with it. And I wanna like, and that makes it hard for me to evaluate the game, because, like, it's been a very long time since I've played a game that's made me feel like that. Like, I'm so sick of this game, I just want this to be over. And I'm trying very hard in my... One of the reasons I do these commentaries, one of the many reasons I do these commentaries, is to sort of analyze my own opinions and my own reactions. And sort of, like, take an opportunity, watch what's going on from the outside to see, like, oh, this is why this was happening, this is why that was happening. Like I think I said in one of my Castlevania 64 videos, I had never really appreciated how big of a problem it was that you have to stop to pick up jewels until I actually watched the footage back. So I'm gonna try, as I talk about the second half of this game, not to let my personal experience with it influence my final perception and my final opinion, because, like I said, like, my experience was miserable, but a big part of that is just because I was miserable and because I was sick and I was tearing through a box of tissues a day, and this air was full of smog and shit like that. So I don't know. I do think that the because this is the weird thing about the N64 games. It's very hard for me to pinpoint like one specific point of the game where it's like, okay, this is the part that's really hard, right? Like in a lot of the 2D games, what's a good example of this? I guess a Dracula's Curse, because I feel like I'm always talking about Dracula's Curse. I'll talk about Dracula's Curse again. Dracula's Curse is a really hard game, but there are parts of it that are like particularly hard that I think of as like, okay, this level is fine, this level's fine, and then like, oh, but you know, 6C is like a real big problem. Or like Alucard, like 7-6 or whatever, or 7-7. Or fucking 9-4 is like the one that I always think of, like the hardest point in the game. There's like difficulty choke points where it's like, this is where a run is probably gonna die, this is where something's probably gonna go wrong. I don't really, it's not really like that for Legacy of Darkness, and well, it is on hard mode. On hard mode, there's like, the final boss on hard mode is definitely a gigantic problem, and there's a few spots in the Tower of Sorcery that are also like that. And the Dual Tower also, I feel like, can be kind of... Well, it just took me a while to figure out the Dual Tower, because this is what kept happening to me. Here's why I kept on dying and dying and dying as I was collecting this footage. So I would like get to the Dual Tower, and so there'd be like something that I cleared perfectly fine on normal mode, and then I'd like die to it on hard mode. And then I'd get back there and I'd die again, and then I'd get back there and I'd die again. And I'm just like, what? And so it was like I was having to relearn the levels, and I don't know if it was because my head was just like so full of like of illness and allergens that I just like couldn't play the game properly, or if it's because this is really fucking bad. Wow. Yeah, that kind of puts me in an unwinnable situation because I have to. I guess probably what I should have done is do the first person camera thing again, and then manually turn myself perfectly along the rope again and then back up. Or just fucking go forward. Why am I not eating a roast beef? Maybe it's like a psychological thing. Like if I die, if I fall off the tightrope, then maybe I won't do it. But yeah, like I'd go to the Dual Tower and I'd just like die, or I'd get to like the what's it? I'd get to the like Tower of Sorcery, and some like totally weird thing I had never encountered would just like I like hadn't encountered before would just like kill me. So it was like I was relearning these levels, even though I had played this on hard mode before. I always do at least one practice run before I start recording attempts of a real run. But here it was like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the fact that I was sick, or that I was tired, or that I was like, or the phases of the moon were wrong. I can't explain it. I also can't believe, by the way, that the art tower took me 8 minutes to clear, because I feel like nothing happens in that level. When I think of the art tower, I can't think of a single thing that happens in it, except you use a lot of sun and moon cards, and somehow that all took me like 9 minutes. That's kind of insane. I guess I fell off the tightrope. I probably tacked on another like minute and a half, maybe. Or like another, what, like a minute, 30 seconds? I don't know. I'm bad at gauging time. Anyway, Tower of Ruins. Tower of Memorization. Because that's kind of like what this level's all about. It's all about memorizing where to go during this maze segment, and then memorizing which platforms collapse out from under you in the second part, and then memorizing which pillars to jump on in the third part. So I suppose you could call it puzzle solving. I don't know if it's much of a I guess it is kind of a puzzle in the third part, because in the third part, it's not just like guesswork. The game does tell you which pillars you have to jump on, but you just have to like write it down or something. But this was actually not the first time I wrote something down in Castlevania 64. I wrote down the right path through the maze chase in Castlevania 64. I think do I have it on my... No, it's not on my desk anymore, but I had like a piece of paper sitting on my desk for like a month that was like, turn right, turn left, go straight, turn right, turn right, turn right, turn left at the tower, turn right, and that was like the fucking hedge maze. I read somebody online saying that they said that this level kind of like doesn't feel like Castlevania. I think he said something about it's like Tombvania or something, like it's like Tomb Raider. And I think I expressed in my normal mode commentary sort of a sarcastic skepticism at the purpose of this tower, as if Dracula's towers have purposes beyond just being video game levels. I don't know. I think it's a neat aesthetic, but I'll tell you what's absolutely poleaxing to me in retrospect is that this is how many years before Portrait of Ruin? 6 years before Portrait of Ruin. This is the closest we've ever gotten to like an ancient Egypt level, and you don't fight a mummy at the end of it. In fact, there are no mummies in this level whatsoever. Isn't that kind of fucking insane? I mean, I know they were working with like a game that's not like... I mean, I know they only had so many months after Castlevania 64 to work on this game to release it, but like... I don't know, how hard... I guess bosses probably are hard to design and probably take a while to make. But you'd think, I mean, this is a fucking golden opportunity. Again, it's not until Portrait of Ruin, Sandy Grave, that you get another chance for an Ancient Egypt level with a mummy boss at the end. Not that Sandy Grave had the mummy boss, the Forgotten City had the mummy boss, but you know what I fucking mean. What am I doing here? Another roast beef, okay. I'm not... The combat is not really like... Well, the Tower of Ruins is kind of like the Art Tower also, where there's basically almost no combat. I mean, a lot of the game is kind of like that. The combat is like... is never really a problem in these games. Until you get to the boss fights. So it's like platforming and boss fights, and then nothing... And then anything that happens in between those two elements is, like, trivial. That was fucking close. Yeah, I don't know. These Cornell-only levels, I feel like, are kind of, like, duds. I can see if these were conceptualized at the time of Castlevania 64, I can see why they got cut. This part's okay. This part where like the collapsing, it's a very, I mean, if the game is centrally a platformer, which I would argue it is, then this is a good, like, platforming level concept, is, like, ancient ruins where everything keeps crumbling out from under you. It's... I don't know how much it feels like Castlevania, like that gentleman on the internet said, but if you don't want to make Cornell do the Castle Center, you probably do need 2 levels to counteract that. Because the Castle Center is so fucking long. So you do have to come up with 2 totally new ideas. What would I do? Let's pretend it's 1990 whatever, whenever they were working on this game. And I'm at KCAC, and it's my job to make 2 Cornell only levels. The Tower of... How about the Tower of Bones? How about there's a skeleton tower? Or it's just like made of skeletons. There's just skeletons everywhere. I guess you already fought a giant skeleton in the forest. Maybe that's not a good idea. No, the art tower and like art tower works conceptually. It's just kind of the only idea they had for it was like, what if you had to use sun and moon cards, which is not super interesting. And the Tower of Ruins, interestingly, I think is like a concept that doesn't make as much sense to me, but I think is actually executed better. I think like I definitely like this level better than the art tower. The art tower is kind of just like a big waste of your time. The chandeliers are cool. They're, you know, like the treasure is cool, but it's kind of a lot of waiting. It's a lot of menuing. It's a lot of like not like really playing the game. In the Tower of Ruins, at least you're always like doing something. Another 8 minutes. That was actually less time than it took me to clear the art tower, which is shocking because so much more happened. Tower of Science on a hard mode. So the Tower of Science on hard mode, they changed up the platforming challenges to fuck with you on purpose, basically. Like these parts with like the blocks coming out. In normal mode, it's just like 1, 2, 3, but in hard mode, it's 1, 2, 3, and then 4, specifically timed to come out to hit you if you tried to jump after the third one. So kind of a dick move, I have to say. But I guess there's a save crystal right before it, and that's one way to teach the player that you fucked with that particular element of the level design. I guess if a player was demonstrating an abundance of caution, then they would probably wait anyway and assume that hard mode might have caused some changes to the platforming, but anyway. Credit where credit is due, the lightning guns look much better in Legacy of Darkness, even though I don't really like the Legacy of Darkness Science Tower as much. It's very nice that Cornell consistently one-shots these boxes. Because, oh, never mind, I guess not. Sometimes he one-shots them, and sometimes he fucking doesn't for no reason. I guess maybe it has something to do with the angle that I'm hitting them at. Maybe if you, like, hit them at the correct angle, then the air blade goes through them, like, hits them twice because it's going through them, but then if you hit them at, like, an angle, it only hits them once because you're, like, clipping a corner. But the problem with that is that, like, it's very hard to control that. That was fucking scary. Especially because Cornell will sometimes shoot out of his right hand and sometimes shoot out of his left hand. It's like the angle, like, so it's like you're trying to control a very minute thing to decide whether or not you're going to hit those boxes in 1 shot or 2 shots. And that's pretty important, because you really want to get those boxes out of the way on those conveyor belts. Great. This is another example of what I'm talking about. If he would just throw from his left hand, I could be hitting this thing. Oh, now he does it. Okay. What changed? Is it the camera angle? This is so frustrating. And now he... Okay, whatever, man. I don't know, maybe, like, maybe the argument... Maybe you could argue I'm not supposed to be able to do that, but if I'm not supposed to be able to do that, why is it letting me do it? Right? Either let me do it or make it so I can't do it. You know what I mean? Don't go back and forth. Ugh. Now we're coming up on the worst fucking part of the entire game. So this shit on Cornell, on hard mode, is a fucking nightmare. Because the barriers get destroyed, and they don't come back. So the barriers are basically only capable of blocking one bullet before they blow up. And then you're just kind of left to the mercy of the patterns of these fucking things. And I tried to figure out like a timing to like jump over the... That is so frustrating. I guess I should have just slutted there again. Because I was trying to come up with like a certain timing of like jumping and then sliding and then jumping and then sliding. There we go. But there was a malfunction somewhere in there. That was actually not that bad. I attempted this a couple times because, like I said, I think I died. I know I did a couple of attempts of this, and that was actually pretty good. There was one attempt where I actually where I cleared that without getting hit at all, but then I died to the dual tower. So the dual tower is like stupid fucking like perspective platforming shit. But there were other ones where I was stuck on that part where I had to do it like 5 or 6 times. I had to like eat a healing item to stop myself from dying. This part right here, I keep getting clipped by these lasers just because like this is just like bad gameplay. I just hadn't learned this area properly, and I was like not respecting the lasers, not like baiting them the way that I should have been. So that feels like it's my fault, but the machine gun section really just kind of feels... It's so fast that it just feels completely random. For Cornell, again, the reason it's different for Carrie is because Carrie is so short that when she slides across that bridge, she'll slide under all bullets. Cornell does not. Or he can still get like clipped in his like shoulder head area by a bullet if he's sliding, if it's a bullet on the lower rung that he's trying to slide under. So they probably should have just not put that room in the game at all, in my opinion. Yeah, I think I definitely like the Castlevania 64 Tower of Science more than this one. Like, yes, this one has a boss fight and the other one didn't, but not all boss fights are created equal. And this one's pretty frustrating because there's a certain type of laser turret. Like, some of these turrets are easy to dodge to Cornell just because Cornell can, like, slide really far, but it's like if you don't slide, like, preemptively when they just, like, look at you, it's hard to tell. Sometimes you just, like, fucking get hit by, like, the direct line laser one. And yeah, that thing was... I'm surprised I didn't even destroy the other turret. Usually what I would do there is destroy both of those 2 turrets closest to the crystal, then destroy the crystal. But there I just, like, didn't give a fuck. So I don't think I talked about... Maybe I did, I don't remember. The dog form pertaining to the dual tower. So I dog form to kill the boss at the end of the Tower of Science, and then my plan is to maintain dog form through the werewolf fight, then lose it, then start accumulating gems again to have it for the boss at the end. I think I did talk about this, but I'm just giving a quick refresher. So the werewolf on hard mode is actually scary as fuck because he will launch you if he hits you. And he has if he does like the charging, if he does like a long range charge, he'll like knock you around. And it's frustrating because it's hard to tell, for me at least, when he's going to do that. Also want to point out, sometimes there's a second lizard man on those platforms. Sometimes there's one on that island and then on the island before that. But sometimes there isn't. And I don't know why. That's the weirdest fucking thing about Legacy of Darkness, is the sometimes things are there, sometimes they're not there elements of it. Oh my god, okay. I really should have ducked under that last one before going for that. Oh well. Yeah, the spinning blades are faster on hard mode. At least those ones are. Not all of them. If there are some of these like spinning blade things that if they were too fast would make the game like unplayable, but those horizontal ones back there are not. This actually looks faster. This I think is the same, but some of these ones coming up do look like they're faster. And this is the part that would like fuck me up, because you can time it, if you time it correctly, you can slide like that through both of them. But the problem is that the gap between the two, like the way that those two blades aren't that back there aren't spinning in like perfect synchronization. So sometimes there can be like a safe gap through one, but not through the other. You have to wait for a specific pattern involving both of them to safely slide through. And that sideways camera trick was the trick that I figured out to get through that part after dying there over and over and over and over again because I can't tell what the fuck is going on. So that was like the first... This was the first like big source of problems when I was collecting the footage for the late game of this. Was the dual tower and that platforming thing, and then a second platforming thing in particular, which is going to come up shortly here. Again, like... And it's why I don't... I like the original dual tower much better. I think the original dual tower had a worse camera, which made the fights worse. But, like here, this Minotaur is actually kind of feels like a real fight. The werewolf does not, because the werewolf is so like weird and hyperactive, and just seems like he kind of does whatever he wants. It's hard to get into like the rhythm of his attacks and react to it. You didn't really see that with Cornell, but when I fight that dude on Reinhardt, it's going to be kind of a shit show. This is the other jump that was really tricky that I had to go horizontal to figure out, yeah. I feel like I shouldn't be... Well, I guess I can't go any further away. I shouldn't have to do this. Like, this jump just shouldn't exist. That's my honest opinion. Like, yes, they give you the ability to turn the camera horizontally, but it's clear they, like, don't want you to do that, because the camera starts, like, auto-correcting as soon as you move. So I feel like if you create a platforming challenge that makes you have to fuck with the game like that, you probably just shouldn't have that in the game. I don't know. Maybe I'm just mad. Maybe I'm just mad because I was dying there. Ugh. So, finally, once I figured out the dual tower, here's my journey through collecting this footage. So after dying like 5 fucking times to the dual tower, I finally figure out a system to get me through those jumps consistently. And then everything is smooth sailing for a little bit. What? It's the Coomer werewolf. So let's see if I play this correctly. What I should be doing here, that's what I should be doing. I should be doing here is sliding past him to bait his attacks and then hitting him. Right. Beautiful. That was actually really good. That was a great way to end a level I really don't like. Because he takes more damage while he's attacking, apparently. But like, if you're just running... If you get close enough to him for him to attack you, usually, well, look at this. Perfect efficiency. Get him, get him, get him. Yes! Perfect efficiency. I used the last seconds of dog form to kill those two turrets. I love that. If you run, because if you just like run up to him to trigger his attacks, you'll probably be too close to him and you'll get hit when he actually uses them. But if you slide past him, then you'll trigger his attack and then you'll already be far enough away from him not to get hit by it when the slide is finished, so that way you can be in position to respond. So that fight's actually pretty simple. Of all the dual tower fights, it's probably the it's actually probably the easiest to figure out, because that once you learn that one trick, the boss just kind of dies. The cheetah is like weird and kind of has like spots where he can be hit and spots where he can't be hit. The werewolf I don't understand at all, and he'll one-shot you if he hits you because he home runs you off the edge of the stage. And then the minotaur makes sense, but sometimes the fact that the camera, he like spins the camera around when he charges, can fuck you up and make you like run into the firewall. And then the big werewolf with the jerk-off arm, is pretty simple. These fucking environmental hazards are so weird, because like they're like more threatening than they look like they are. There's basically always a safe zone available to you, but it makes it, cause it like seems like you should have to wait, but you actually don't. So the Tower of Execution, as miserable as my slog through the late game of Legacy of Darkness was, the Tower of Execution was actually pretty smooth every time. I don't remember ever really dying here. Because the Tower of Execution is very, like... What the Tower of Execution does that I think is important is it doesn't rush you, and it also very clearly, like, conveys things to you. There actually is kind of an exception. That room with the islands on the lava is weird, because the blades are swinging at a weird angle, which makes it feel like there are safe zones you can jump past them, but there really aren't. You just have to treat them like they are swinging right between the two platforms, because they really are. So that room actually fucked me up a little bit. But I wasn't expecting that, because I cleared that room like perfectly on normal mode. So this is the thing. This is the thing about like these games and like practicing, and why if I were doing like full degeneracy, right? If I were save stating like for every level, then the way I would like play the game would be different. Because the thing about playing a whole game, right? Let's say hypothetically I'm playing this whole game with no save states. I need strategies now. I need like ways of clearing rooms that don't just work. Here I'm wigged out because I think that steam coming out from the lava means a fire gout is going to show up, but it never does. You now need strategies that don't work once. You need strategies that work every time, right? If you're just save stating for a level, all you need to do is just figure out something that will work one time to clear that level, and then you're done. But if you're trying to beat the game consistently, you need to really know what you're doing in a different kind of way. And that room with that like second room in the Tower of Executions with the floating islands and the swinging blades is a perfect example of when I went through that room on normal mode, I had something that worked once. I just kind of jumped through the room and it worked, and I never really thought about it. But then when I got to it on hard mode, I tried doing the same thing, and because my timing was slightly off, because I didn't really understand the room, I died. So... And when I practiced this game on hard mode, it was the same thing. It was like I just jumped through the room and it was fine. So that's what's frustrating about these runs sometimes when I sit down to do them deathless, or do them like, you know, I can't say without save states, but with like sparse save states, that there are parts, if there's a part of the run that I know is going to be a problem, I'll practice it. But sometimes when I start doing these attempts, there are parts of the game that I don't think are problems until I lose like 35 minutes of a run from dying to them, you know? And it's like, okay, well, if I'd known that was a problem, I would have practiced it before I started doing like recording attempts. But I don't always know what's going to be a problem until I start. So, and I usually like to be able to anticipate that, right? But there I didn't. This part is pretty fucking ghoulish, by the way, because they really... So that thing that's extending out of the wall over there is now on like a set timer where it'll extend out, then it'll retract back. So you have to get there at the right time to jump on it, or else you have to like jump back to another island to stop yourself from sinking into the fucking lava and dying. So that part's pretty fucking crazy. I hesitated on that last jump there, by the way, because one of the many ridiculous ways that I died during the worst night of Castlevania of my life, that being the collection of this footage, was I jumped like too early and hit like clipped the edge of the blades as they were swinging away from the middle of that last jump. So that was just fucking ridiculous. And now we're in the Tower of Sorcery. And the Tower of Sorcery has one particular part. There's this one particular like area of it that can just 120% just suck my dick until the end of time. Like, the original Tower of Sorcery had one jump that I didn't like, that I thought like, okay, that's a little bit too much, it's a little bit too like precise. This probably could use some more leeway. But there's a part of the Legacy of Darkness Tower of Sorcery on hard mode that I fucking despise. Because it's an overlap of too many things having to go right at the same time. And I'll point it out when I get to it. For now, another thing that I want to point out is that these fucking turrets in the Tower of Sorcery can also just like go fuck themselves, because they fire a lot faster on hard mode. And the problem is this: you don't want to be too close to them because they hit you, but you have to be close to them to hit them to get them out of the way, right? So, that was one of the times when I died. When I was trying to hit the turret, but the game decided that actually what I wanted to hit was the giant useless crystal sitting in the middle of that island, instead of the thing that's about to fucking kill me on that platform. Okay, this is the part that just needs to be erased from the game and removed from... This part needs to be removed from every cartridge of this game that exists in reality needs to be edited by God to get rid of this part, because this is just like, this is so stupid. Because you look at this, right? And here's what you see. Oh, I get it. I have to jump on this platform at a point in time so that those platforms don't disappear, and also I'm being like gate-kept by these electric crystals, so I have to jump at a point in time where the crystals aren't about to go, but also both the platforms are fresh, right? Except that also those little yellow platforms orbiting the pillar up there, excuse me, guess what? Jumping on those yellow platforms is not just a matter of timing your jump correctly. No. They actually operate on like a cycle, which means that there will be a period of time when you will be standing on that second platform that can disappear, and you just won't be able to jump on the golden platforms. So you can time this part perfectly. You can get onto the first one when it's fresh, you can get onto the second one that's fresh, and then you're just standing there waiting for the smaller platforms to reorient themselves to get in a position where you can jump on them, and then the platform just disappears and you just fucking die. Ridiculous. So what I'm doing here is I'm waiting for a very specific sequence of the platforms to spawn. I'm waiting for the first one to spawn, then the second one to spawn. Because here's what I want to do. I want to get on the first platform, like this, and then get on the second one as soon as I possibly can, like as soon as it pops in. And now look at this, I can't jump on the platforms. Except now I can, because I got on it at the right time. But if I had picked a different spawn point to get on that second platform, I would have just been sitting there with my dick in my hand, staring at nothing until it disappeared under me and I died. And that part was so infuriating. Because it's like you think it's doing one thing, you think it's testing the timing of get on both platforms before they disappear, and also get through the lightning crystals, and then make a tricky jump onto the moving platforms. But it turns out that sometimes you can't even make the tricky jump onto the moving platforms, sometimes you're just fucked. Unless you get there on this one specific spawn cycle of the platforms. It's so stupid. Because, I don't know, maybe I just don't have the IQ, right? To keep track of, like, what the cycle of the platforms around the pillar are, plus the disappearing platform cycle, plus the lightning cycle. You know what I mean? Like, and that right there is stupid too. Like, I could have just died there if I hadn't timed that airblade attack exactly perfectly to destroy the crystal like the nanosecond before the laser hit me and knocked me off that fucking platform. Like, the Legacy of Darkness Tower of Sorcery on hard mode is the fucking dumbest thing in any of these N64 games. I would say it's like on par with the Nitro run. So that was my sequence where, like, I was dying to the dual tower over and over again. Then I figured out the dual tower. Then I was just dying to the Tower of Sorcery over and over and over and over and over again. Just like every dumb thing you could imagine happening in the Tower of Sorcery just happening to me all in the same night. And it was like... Like, I would rather do the original Tower of Sorcery twice than have to do that one once. And again, it's the kind of thing that, like, I just didn't notice when I first went through the game, because I just happened to get to it at the right cycle. You know what I mean? Like, when I did a practice run of this game, and when I went through the Tower of Sorcery on hard mode, I just happened to do everything right and didn't understand that there were mistakes that I'd avoided until I got to it, until I was recording the gameplay, and I got to it on the worst night of my life, and ended up just, like, stepping on every rake and slipping on every banana peel. And fucking up in every single way a human being can fuck up on the Tower of Sorcery. So... Fuck. So, this boss. This boss is mostly the same on hard mode as he is on normal mode, except as you can see, I feel like he has more health. I feel like he's taking much less damage from me than he was on normal mode. And I'm absolutely certain he does way more damage. I feel like if he hits me, he's probably going to hit like a fucking truck. Oh no, I know what's happening. So I do want to go into dog form here, but I want to save dog form until... What am I waiting for? I guess I'm waiting until I destroy his 2 heads, because the heads are not actually that threatening. As you can see, one of them just did like a breath attack, which basically just makes him stand still. I guess maybe I think I'm waiting for like... But I think after his heads get destroyed, he gets a little bit more, like, aggro, so I think that's what I'm waiting for. And after his heads get destroyed, he can do a fire breath attack with just the lion head, which results in him basically standing still for a long period of time. So I think I'm probably also going to be on the lookout for that. Yeah, now his 2 heads are dead. Now he's going to start going bonkers. And I guess I'm waiting for the fire breath attack to actually go into dog form. Or I'm waiting until he, like, gives me a breather. Because I think once I learned this boss, I did kind of want to try to no-damage it. But I think I fuck up towards the end. Yeah, oh, nope, okay, I thought that was it, but no, not yet. Why am I not in dog form yet? Am I not going into dog form for this fight? Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just not going into dog form at all for the Ortega fight and I'm saving all of it for Dracula. I think that's what's happening, yeah. He's taking so little damage. I guess the game just really wants you to go into dog form to hit him here. Ah, almost. I really thought I had him there. Fuck. Yeah, I think I decided that since I had this boss fight pretty much down, like I knew his patterns well enough, that I would just not use dog form here and I would just save all my gems for Dracula, because the clock tower is pretty stingy with gems. And then the torches before Dracula also are pretty stingy with gems, so... I think I saw him cough up some blood earlier there. Yeah, I really wish that fight was a no damage, but oh well. If I'd used dog form, it would have been. But the thing about using dog form on the Ortega fight is that he has a really long death animation before the ending cutscene, before the cutscene at the end of the fight happens. So you end up, so if like you go into dog form and you kill him, and you're just going to be standing there like draining away gems while his body very slowly dissolves, and then the corpse very slowly appears, and then you get the cutscene trigger. And then you can stop wasting hearts. So that was just another element of the fight that made me not want to go to dog form for it. But it was mostly because of Dracula. And Dracula was like the last big... Am I AFK? Yes, oh no, there I am. Okay. And now we go into the clock tower, which I think actually never killed me. I don't think I ever died on the clock tower in hard mode, because the clock tower... it's kind of like a lot of like normal Castlevania 64 Legacy of Darkness challenges in that it's scary, but it's not necessarily like hard to consistently clear. Which sounds like a contradiction, but it's more like the punishment for failure is very harsh, but failing itself is not that but it's pretty hard to fail, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's kind of the nature of platforming. It's not as complicated as like some kind of intricate combat challenge, but all you have to do to die is just fuck up one jump. Yeah, hard mode is fucking crazy. I was also never good at fighting these things, especially when the wall is fucking intercepting all of my swings. God damn. Just hit him. Why couldn't Cornell shoot these laser beams out of his eyes? That would solve the problem immediately. Or what if he like shot fireballs out of his mouth like one of these turrets? Huh? How about that for an idea? I mean, this is better than the original idea, which is that he was going to be a martial artist, which would probably just make it, like, hard for him to hit anything, because he'd have to be so close, but... But, like, goddamn. Anyway. Anyway, here we are in the clock tower. I like my idea of Cornell breathing fire out of his mouth or something. Maybe that's something he should have been able to do in dog form. I'm still on the fence about how I feel, by the way. About dog form in general. The way that it functions in the game now, to be fair, does add an element of like strategy and resource management to the game that wouldn't otherwise be there, but I kind of wish I could be a dog the whole time, you know what I mean? And I don't mean like have dog level like attack power the whole time, because that would be overpowered. I just mean like, I wonder if there's like a ROM hack out there to have him look like a dog all the time. Because when I started playing this game, like, you know, you see a dog on the box art, and then you start playing the game, and it's like, I'm not a dog, I'm just a guy. I guess he'd have to talk in the cutscenes, right? Oh well. This jump was always like so weird, because I had a hard time telling how far away that platform was. I don't know what it is, it's like my weird like depth perception thing. Again, where like something about that platform in particular that like sticking out back there, I just had a hard time figuring out where it was. Yeah, this level, I don't know, man. I think the Castlevania 64 clock tower is unfinished, and I think this clock tower goes on for too long. You could probably cut this entire room, I think, and you wouldn't lose very much. Or at the very least cut like half of this room, because the way this room is structured now is you're basically doing like the same thing twice in a row. Like, the thing is that they try to make it more complicated by adding these flame turrets coming out of the wall, but it's very, very easy to just never have to worry about them. And just only interact with the platforming at a level that's completely, like, separate from, from those turrets. I noticed that most of my suggestions about Legacy of Darkness involve things getting cut, and to be fair, like, my perceptions are skewed, right? Because I played Castlevania 64 first, so to me, this game like feels longer than it should feel, sort of, because it plays very, very similar to Castlevania 64, and I'm used to like Castlevania 64 having a certain like pace to it. So when this game, and really all this game is just a finished version of Castlevania 64, right? Like, this is the clock tower they wanted to put in but didn't. I'm almost certain of that case. Rather, I'm almost certain that that is the case. just based off of how weird and short the clock tower in Castlevania 64 is compared to how it looks here. So I don't know. Yeah, just kind of watching this footage is honestly kind of exhausting because it's near enough in the experience of actually playing it is near enough in my memory that I remember like how miserable this was. Ugh. I still think that's really funny, that like flip that he does on the floor. Would it have been the end of the world? I guess it would have been. I was gonna say, would it have been the end of the world if Cornell's story just ended without like another Dracula fight? Do you know what I mean? Because like, I don't know, maybe not. Because here's the thing, right? We're in the clock tower right now. I'm running around inside the clock tower. I should be talking about the clock tower, but all I can think about is the Dracula fight. Because that's like that's the last big problem in Legacy of Darkness is the Dracula fight on hard mode. And it's cool, but it's too hard. And that's something that I really rarely... I don't think I've actually ever said that about a boss in Castlevania before. Like, I'm racking my brain for every boss I've ever fought in a Castlevania game. I don't think I've ever... I guess, I don't know, I guess the double Frankenstein fight in Portrait of Ruin, but that's not like a boss, that's just kind of like a big fuck you to the player. Because the second phase, well, I guess I'll just wait until I see it. Or wait until you guys see it. Because I already talked about this a little bit in the normal mode, but in hard mode, it's like... The fact that he does more damage just makes it so much worse. How about instead of the Tower of Art and the Tower of Ruins, it's like the Tower of Bones and then the Tower of Cats? How about that for an idea? How about he's gotta chase all the bones and then he's gotta chase all the cats? There's a joke. Fuck. The Tower of White Women. Anyway, right now we're in the Tower of Clocks, and this is another part of the clock tower, I think. Actually, you know what? If you were going to cut one part of the clock tower, cut this shit right here. With the climbing along the ledges, this is just so fucking boring. You could keep this part, because this part's the only part of the clock tower that's actually, like, dangerous. I know I've died here at least once. I don't remember if it was during this, like, nightmare gauntlet of collecting the second half of the Cornell footage, but I know I've died here before. Okay. Okay. That was almost it right there, but... Because what happened there is that I was under just a fundamentally false impression about how that part worked. I thought it worked like this, where when the spinning blade comes back around, you're supposed to jump over it. But that's actually not true because you can't jump over it. As you saw there, Cornell has a pretty high jump, but and I'm pretty sure I was at the apex of my jump when it reached me, but it still just hit me anyway. What you're supposed to do is wait for the fire turret to stop, then run forward and jump, not to jump over the spinning thing, but to jump to get across that thing faster, so that way you're at the end of it before the spinning thing even gets back to you. So, oh, someone's having a worse time than I am, it sounds like. Yeah. Anyway, okay, good. So on my normal mode footage, I totally shit the bed and had like 5 attempts to get through this part. Here, I actually do it correctly first try, so good for me. It's the one saving grace of this footage. I don't know why it bothers me so much. Because, like... because the reason I kept on resorting to save states when I got this footage is because I was just so done with this game's shit. But it never feels as good when I do that. I don't know what that, like, other... I guess that's... Okay, I guess it's all connected back to this room. Because those 2 torches over there, I never really understood how to get to that part. But given that it's hard mode in Legacy of Darkness, I'm guessing those torches have, like, 100 gold in them. One of them has a 100 gold bag, and one of them just has nothing. Because Legacy of Darkness hard mode loves just, like, taking away all of your tools and never giving you anything you want in any of the torches. Unless to give you knives and bags of 100 gold, and that's it. But, I mean, credit where credit is due. It is a more interesting hard mode than Castlevania 64, where, like, enemies are just damage sponges and there's, like, one extra skeleton somewhere. Yeah, like I started to say before, it always whenever it's like this or like the Portrait of Ruin Richter mode stuff, whenever I use save states, it just feels bad, man. But this is just what I was reduced to. I'm gonna blame it on me being sick. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. If I wasn't like fucking dying, maybe I would have had the mental fortitude to not bitch out and to actually like learn this shit properly. But the thing is that I tried so hard to learn the Dracula fight. I tried to figure out the timing, I tried to figure out the positioning, and every time I thought I got it, it's just like, it just didn't work. I don't know, man. Yeah, I think... Yeah, this is the cut. It's a cut in the footage, and it's a cut in my fucking soul, man. But because I was bitching out and because I was making a save state right before the fight started, I also wanted to make sure that phase 1 was like immaculate. So I ended up restarting a lot just to get like a phase 1 that would look cool. Because like my compromise is, well, if I'm gonna play like a pussy and save state for this boss, then I should at least make the final footage look cool. You know what I mean? Like I should at least make it entertaining to watch. if I'm gonna like not if the substance of the footage is not going to be that this is an impressive thing to do, it can at least be like mechanically impressive or mechanically interesting or entertaining to watch. It would have been serve as the staff of my life in sweet darkness. That line needed to be rewritten. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be a clean 3-shot. Fucking should be anyway. Get him, fuck. Come on. Alright, beautiful. Phase 1 of Dracula in Cornell's mode actually has some additional attacks. He has like a lightning attack that's almost impossible to dodge. 2 lightning attacks, actually. One of them is like a targeted lightning attack, and one of them is kind of like a fan-out lightning attack. So, okay, so this... I don't get it. So this is Dracula, but he's not supposed to be back yet. But he is back yet. But he's not really back yet, because he's not going to be back yet for 8 years. This is what I mean when I ask, like, would it have been so bad for Cornell to, like, rescue Ada from death and Actrice or something and then fight, I don't know, Galamoth is the final boss. They were working with what they had. They had Dracula. I think in Castlevania games it is kind of anticlimactic if you fight anybody besides Dracula at the end. Although... the Dawn of Sorrow Menace fight is okay. Although Menace is not the real final boss of that game, Abaddon is. Okay, so this phase... I don't get it. I already said I don't get it when I talked about this guy in normal mode. I just don't understand this boss. I don't get how half of his attacks work. I don't get how he decides where to target you. Like, I don't get how you're supposed to dodge half of the shit that he throws at you. I just don't get it. And I looked up a guide, and the guide just said he does a lightning attack, and then he does a fire attack, and then he does an ice attack, and then he does a dark attack, and it was completely useless. So, okay, this is the part that sucks, because if you get hit by any of these fireballs, you die, because they knock you down, and you don't get to recover yourself. Okay, that right there. What happened right there, I hit with the first fireball, and then instead of shooting an air blade at the second fireball, I do like the claw attack, right? Okay. Oh yeah, the projectiles are faster on hard mode too, I'm almost certain. I feel like this is definitely faster than it should be. And then this attack is just like, I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to do about this. Everything I tried, like I tried jumping from the left, I tried jumping from the right, I tried jumping earlier, I tried jumping later, I tried sliding, I couldn't... I dodged that attack in normal mode, but I have no idea how I did it. And then this attack also was like fucking ridiculous, because there were times when I'd shoot the air blade out of the wrong arm, and it would like hit the side of his chest instead of hitting the face in the middle of his chest, and then I'd get sucked up into his grab attack. And then, like, the margin of error for this fight is just way too fucking small. Like, the tiniest millimeter, the one angle being off, just fucks you completely. And that bit with the last volley of fireballs, where you can like shoot an air blade to hit one, and then when I tried to shoot a second air blade to hit the second one, and I did the claw attack instead. Okay. In what universe would I ever want to do that? Because there are two attacks, right? There's the claw attack, and then there's this air blade attack. The air blade attack hits everything right in front of me, and has a really long range in front of me too. The claw attack only hits things right in front of me. In what situation would I ever want to use the claw attack instead of the laser blade attack? Why would I ever want to use the objectively inferior attack? Why can't I just mash the button until I'm airblading twice as quickly as possible? Why is there this fucking insanely minute timing between hitting the B button, waiting just long enough so that if you hit the B button again, it doesn't do the claw attack, and then hitting the B button again to do the fucking laser blade attack? Like, why is that there? And what the fuck is going on here? Is Dracula back or not? Because this really looks like Dracula to me. Like, he's got a fucking crazy monster form and everything. So, I don't know, man. And then, like, the fucking bone snakes that just, like, spaz out and fly around everywhere and hit you. And then the fucking icicle attack that just, like, hits the entire fucking floor and punches you out of the air if you try to jump over it. Like, I don't fucking get it. I don't get it at all. I mean, fortunately, that last fireball volley is the only one that you can get hit by without dying. Because if you get hit by any of the earlier ones, then you'll get knocked down for too long, and you will get hit by subsequent ones, and they will two-shot you. But getting hit by that last fireball, the volley, is actually bad too, because it means that you can't, you can dodge his uppercut attack, but you don't really, but it's really, really hard. You, like, barely have time to do it. Okay, so when she was very young is when this first village burning happened. Maybe Cornell is immortal, because he still seems pretty young. I guess they couldn't show that because they already did one village burning, and it would be confusing to show two village burnings and have them be two different events. So I don't know. Despite my piles and piles of salt and excuses about the second phase of Dracula, I still think that this game has some interesting things going for it. I honestly don't think hard mode is worth playing, because there's nothing about it that, like, hard mode doesn't make anything more interesting. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's for people who are just better at the game than I am. planner. What do you want to do when I grow up? Oh, I want to plan. Anyway, that's Legacy of Darkness. Ending on a sullen note. Unfortunately, I don't know, man. Maybe I just needed to like, maybe I just needed to try harder. Maybe I just needed to lock myself in the fucking hyperbolic time chamber, like Goku and Vegeta, and just like train on Dracula, second phase of Dracula, until the fucking cows came home. What, or maybe I should have watched a video, but I feel like I can just kind of tell by how the boss plays that it's just a matter of absolutely minute reaction time and positioning. I can just tell. I feel like if I watched a video, I don't think it would help that much, because he'd probably just like jump at the perfect time, or like slide at the perfect time, or attack at the perfect time, because like it's like the fireball attack, like I know what I'm supposed to do. It's just so fucking frustrating to like it's like, yeah, I know you press the B button twice, but I think you actually don't want to use the attack that's objectively better than the other attack. I think you want to use this shitty attack that you would have no reason to ever use in the game. I don't know, it's good for like 1-2 punches, but like whenever I would use the air blade attack and then follow it up with a claw attack, it was like the claw attack never killed anything, and it felt like it just didn't do any damage. I don't know. Maybe I'm dead wrong. Maybe I just don't understand the intricacies of the combat in this game, but it's like an itch. It's like an itch that I can't scratch. That's what watching footage like this is like. Because it's like I wish it was different. I wish it wasn't what it was, but this is what it is. And nobody wants to hear this. Nobody wants to hear me fucking complaining about this. So, Legacy of Darkness, Cornell story. Centerpiece of the game, interesting, hard mode, fucking hard, as you can tell by how mad I got at Dracula. A serious challenge. The real damper on it, though, is that if you die on second phase of Dracula, which you will because he's fucking hard, you respawn in the castle keep with no weapon upgrades, and the torches don't drop any weapon upgrades. There's no excuse for that. There's no fucking excuse to have you try to do that fight without maximum weapon upgrades. Like, that's bullshit. That's so dumb. It's fucking ridiculous. Should absolutely never be the case that you have to go into Dracula with like an unupgraded weapon. It's actually fucking absurd. It's this like dedication to not giving you any useful items taken to an illogical extreme. But I guess if you're really confident, something to aspire to, I suppose. If I really, really loved this game, I think I would be motivated to really learn that fight properly, but I do like these games, but those aren't the things about it that I like. So Dracula needs a new body. So Dracula's back, but he's not, but he wasn't really back because he needed a new body to body in. I like this ending scene. I like the intro and the ending scenes where they're all congregated in the throne room, and the Bloody Tears remix is playing. That's good. It's just a shame about everything that came before it. It's like they were overcompensating. Like Castlevania 64 hard mode like wasn't hard enough. It was just kind of like Castlevania 64 but more tedious. And then with Legacy of Darkness they said, okay, fine, we're gonna make like an actual hard mode that's really hard, but they didn't do it in the ways that I appreciate. So Legacy of Darkness hard mode, kind of a dud. Especially if you're playing properly without save states, you die and then you just like never have a fully upgraded weapon ever again. Um, but if you really love Legacy of Darkness, you play normal mode and you're like a beast at it, and you want to just keep playing it, I guess it's fun to have a challenge to aspire to. So that's the end of the video. Next up is going to be the Henry mode, one of the other 4 playable characters in Legacy of Darkness, and then after that it's going to be Reinhardt and Carrie. So still a lot to go. I promise I'm not going to be this like emo and pissed off in future videos, and keep on Earth rocking.